there is no such thing as living in a neutral gear. That is the key lesson of the verse that we're discussing this week in church, and it goes like this. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I come that they may have life and have it abundantly. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I come that they may have life and have it abundantly. And this verse comes in the middle of a passage about the Good Shepherd, and it's quite a confusing passage, quite elliptical, in that at first it talks about Jesus entering a gate. Then Jesus says, I am the gate. Then he says, I am the shepherd, you're the sheep. And you can kind of think, well, which are you, Jesus? You're saying you're the gate, you're saying you're the shepherd, which bit? I don't understand. And I'm not sure. I think John entirely understood. I think he would be just writing down these images and then thinking them through and recapitulating them. And there's a little bit actually about ancient Near Eastern shepherding, which I'll share, which is some degree of explanation. But I don't think it's an entire explanation. But the bigger thing all through John's Gospel is you've got to choose to be in or you're out. And this in is a really significant choice, and it is a choice. But don't think you can be neutral. You're one or the other. Now let's go to shepherding before we go to life in all its fullness and what that might mean. I tend to think, I think one of the problems with this passage is, well, if you're like me in the modern world, you don't do much shepherding. Such shepherding as you've seen tends to come from an episode of One Man and His Dog, when you see a shepherd with a sheepdog trying to move the sheep from one pen, 100 metres down a field to another pen, like in Babe, the sheep pig. And that's what you think being a shepherd is. And they didn't have pens like that in the ancient world. But what you might do overnight, you have to leave your sheep safe, and there might be quite a safe, like a cave or something. And apparently the practice was for the shepherd, once he'd led the sheep into the cave, the shepherd would lie down at the front of the cave, if you like, sort of becoming the gate. Not literally, but if you're at the front of the cave, the sheep would kind of have to crawl over him to get out. So that was a good shepherd would stay as the gate. And I think that does unlock a little bit about why is Jesus both the gate and the shepherd? He's kind of both, and that would make sense in the ancient world. In a way, it's a bit more confusing to us. But the next thing which we find difficult in the modern world is, I think we think people don't want to be Jesus' sheep because sheep are kind of stupid, and that life you lead would be restricted because you have to follow all these commandments about things you don't do. And the counterpoint would be this extraordinary verse, I come that they may have life and life in all its fullness, or have it abundantly. Why do we have this difficult translation? The word is difficult, but it's wonderful. The word is perissos. And I will describe a little bit about how this comes used in Greek. So it's not just big. Big would be megas, but useful word, like we get mega from it. Megas. It's not even biggest. That's megistos, is like the biggest. No. Perissos is what you use if you're seeing like a tidal wave. One of these enormous waves which a surfer might be, seeing on a video. Think about a wave like that. So you think your normal waves at the sea, then you get big waves at the sea, and then you have those unbelievable ones of people surfing just beyond your imagination. That is perissos. That is the life that Jesus is saying is on offer. That's what he wants to give us, the most deep life you can have. But it's this paradox that the most deep life you can have is not what we often ascribe to amazing lives in the modern world. Which I've said before, but I'll say it again. It's not about climbing Everest, winning the Best Actor Oscar, bungee jumping 5,000 metres off whatever, flying into space. All those things which are seemingly extraordinary, but are actually kind of shallow. By the way, congratulations if you've climbed Everest. But do you see what I mean? It's not it's not the real quality which makes up deep meaning in your life. Those come from these relationships. And we're saying here that the framework of living that life, the Christian framework of living that life, underpins a life in all its fullness. It gives you the pathway to life in all its fullness. And this is an astonishing thing. The next thing is, can you be neutral? And the reason that you can't be neutral is time just passes. Even now, you spent 4.5 minutes, if you got this far, listening to this video. That is 4.5 minutes you didn't spend, doing what other things you're going to do. And eventually, you can think, I'll make a decision about that later. But time moves on. And there's that John Lennon song, life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans. actually indecision is a decision. And this is what I think John's Gospel is about. With time as it is, either you're in or you're out. And don't trust in other people. Jesus is the point of trust. That's the point of trust. That's the base. And don't think this is going to be a restrictive life if you go in here. This is life in all its abundance, all its amazingness, all its fullness. It may be a life lived very locally or parochially, but it is an amazing one. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I come that they may have life, and life in all its fullness.